Welcome everyone to the first video of a 10-part series about analysis and how to get into analysis, football recruitment. And in this series, I just want to give a few people information about what it is to start in football. What do you need? What kind of analysis is there? What are your starting points? Because in all honesty, I think that people who are scouts or analysts within football clubs, semi-professional, professional, often get questions about how do I get in the game, what do I need to do, and I also think that people don't fully appreciate what it takes, know what it takes to get into the game. So in this series, I try to give a little bit of basic information, what you can do, where you can start, and doing stuff. And in this video, I will explain how you can go into football analysis, what do you need education-wise, what type of analysis is there, and obviously it's different for everyone. This is my story, my path, my suggestions, my advice, but obviously there are far more talented people out there making analysis, making good content on the internet, and you should definitely read, watch or hear everything they have to say on their platforms. But this is just how I think could help those who are starting out exactly and share my knowledge. So yeah, let's begin with part one. Before you start with actually doing analysis or going into that route, you need to know a lot about context. Before you start doing football analysis, it's very important to know context and awareness of what you're doing. What I mean is that never is a player or a game just there. It exists in terms of context. So there's context around a certain player or certain match or series of matches. So in that regard, it's very important to factor in all those variables. So for example, if you look at a game itself can be very different than the context. So it's very important to always be aware of what you're analyzing, what is the context, what is different about the context in regards to the game. So for example, if you have a game that ends 1-1, the two opponents are first and second on the table, that seems like a very normal result. And how would you explain that in terms of analysis? Now, well, you would say, okay, 1-1, teams would be quite equal in terms of the game, and it's just a fair result. But if you look at the context, so for example, how many injuries you have, how many suspensions you have, how is the run of form, all those things you need to factor in and see how that affects the game. So for example, if the table leader has lost 6 games in a row and they play 1-1, that is a better result than the second place team that has been on a run of 6 games and won everything. So it's also about everything surrounding the game is important, but also too much context will make the analysis void. So that is very important to be aware of. Think about it. Every game, every player, every analysis type is different, but you should be able to think about all these variables, and all these variables will lead to different results, and therefore an analysis of a game, of a player, or whatever you're analyzing will never be 100% correct, but it will be valuable if you calculate it in the proper context. Before I delve into the types of analysis you can do within football, I will want to talk to you about education. So football is a professional industry, and just as like players and managers and coaches, being an analyst or a scout is a profession, and there are education to become such a person in football. If you want to, you can have education. So there are formal education in terms of bachelors and bachelors. For example, you can do scouting courses, you can do analysis courses, which are very beneficial. And every association has a course or education to become one, you can also get your licensed coaching degrees, which also will help in scouting and analysis. But most of all, you should know that an education doesn't mean you are a good scout or analyst. It's all about what do you do with the information. So for example, I could have so many data on a particular game and I can present it to you, and you get all this information but you don't know what to do with it. A good analyst knows what the team needs. The team asks something, you provide it, but also make sure that those who get the analysis get the analysis, so they understand it. I also always take as a measurement, take that a coach has 10 to 15 minutes to watch a player or look at an analysis of a game. Make sure you use all the media you need, so video, data visualization, data and text, and make sure that everything can be read or seen within 50 minutes. Valuable information. Make sure the content is right, obviously, but also make sure it's not too long, there's no extra information. Every information should be spot on, and everything you claim you should have sources and evidence for. So if you claim an attack on the right provided more expected goals, show it with the numbers, show it with data visualization. That's very important to prove what you say. Now to the types of analysis. There are a variety of analysis, and I think that when doing analysis, you can do so many different categories of analysis, but you should always be aware of what you're doing. My mistake was when I began, and I think till recently it still was, is that I wanted to do everything. So I wanted to do video analysis, opposition analysis, data analysis, I wrote recruitment analysis, set piece analysis, and goalkeeper analysis, technical analysis, you name it, I wanted to do it. But the thing is, you can be good at a few, you can be good at all, but you need to know what makes you relevant and important to your team you're supporting or working for. So make sure that you understand that each part of analysis is its own quality, a skill to master, as it were. So if you're good at recruitment analysis and scouting, make sure you are really good at it and specify why you're doing this. It's better sometimes to have a niche than to know everything a little bit, and that's definitely what I found. So you can be valuable at a club, but you can especially be valuable if you really know and give detailed analysis of that particular category you're looking at. So now I'm going to talk about the different types of analysis I have done, and which are, I think, most frequent in terms of how they are done in recruitment departments or analysis departments, and how are most frequent within clubs. So the first part of, I think, analysis is video analysis. So video analysis is, obviously the name does say it, work with video. This can mean different things. You can analyze the opponent in terms of video and give an advice or your findings to those responsible for match preparation. You can look at your own team, so you can look at training, you can look at post-match analysis, you can look at little sequences on a longer run to make sure that analysis is done properly. But that's not the only thing. You can also use video to assess a player. You can also make sure that video is being clipped and properly brought to the players as well as the coaches. But I think that a big part of being a video analyst, and that doesn't really exist in the space of internet, but work for a club it does, is coding clips. So you set up a camera on the ground or a stadium or wherever you're filming. So, and you make sure that the whole pitch is in the video, and then when you're live filming it, you're also coding it. So clipping whole match into little categories. So after the game, you can provide it to the coaching staff, but also in half time, which is very important to the workflow of the coaching staff and also analysis department. I think that is a very important way of looking at video analysis, that is not only about sitting on a laptop and watching games or training sessions or watching players, but it's also about playing style, recognizing play style. Where are players playing? What's the philosophy and player ability of a certain club, and how do I see that in video? And capturing that on a series of games will also give you an idea what the playing style is, and if it's executed well enough for your team, or that you need to amend it and do certain things like that. I'll also make sure to link some examples of video analysis and video analysts and how they look at the game, so you have an idea of what it is to be or work in video analysis. Second category is data analysis. And I think this is very interesting with data analysis. Just as video analysis is not only concerned with what a match does or doesn't, but you look at the data that is given from matches and players. So there are different types of data. You have match data, you have event data, you have performance data. All these things can be analyzed. But I think that most important thing with data is that you can gather as lot of data as you want, but you always need to provide context. Without context, data is just irrelevant. Data can fit a narrative, data can be manipulated. So without context, it is very tricky to look at it. So if you're assessing a performance based on just a single match, that is tricky, because you can't see if a player or a team is performing well just on one game, because one game could be an outlier. So you have to look at a series of games. Just as a player's performance, you can't really assess a player just on one game. So for example, what I see a lot, and I did a lot of it too, is that you will look at a striker and try to assess whether a striker is good at finishing. And you look at expected goals numbers and actual goals scored, and you look at locations with event data, and you come to the conclusion that after 5 games, yes, this player is really good at finishing. But it could be an outlier, like I said. It could be just pure luck. So in that term, you have to look at a few seasons, so you can see, okay, these chances have been created, and he should have scored, or she should have scored that many goals, and what are the actual goals scored. And if you look at it like a few seasons, then you can really see if a player is performing well or a team is performing well. I should always be mindful of that. Data always needs to be representative of a player or a team or a season, because otherwise it will give a false image of a player or of a team, and the analysis will mean less. And that's also bad for recruitment, but also for own team's experience, because if you have the feeling that you're scoring more than expected goals would suggest, then you're thinking, okay, I'm doing something right. But in the end, expected goals and goals will average out. So I think it's always the main thing about data is be mindful of what you're saying, what you're analyzing, how big your data frame is, your database is it representative of a player or a team, and always provide context, because context makes the data valuable, and without the context, it's just a bunch of data which doesn't mean anything. Then we have recruitment analysis, and I think this is a very interesting part of analysis, because we know that it's connected to scouting. Scouting is assessing a player's ability, if a player will be good enough for a certain team or club or national squad. So for example, if I go out and I see a team which one player is very good, I can write a report and give it to those responsible for recruitment. I say, this is a really good player. But in recruitment analysis, it's one step further even. So you're obviously judging players' abilities, but you also are building profiles. So what are we looking for exactly? So if we're looking for defensive midfielder, what kind of defensive midfielder? What do we already have? What do we have in the academy? But also, a player can be good, but it can also mean the player doesn't fit. So, for example, a lot of top teams will have money, will have the ability to buy good players, but do they really need them? And if they need that kind of position, do they really need that player? I think that's very important in terms of recruitment analysis. Also looking how the team is playing, which players do you need, which profile are you building around that role that you need, and then looking at the players that are recommended by your scouts or recommended by yourself, if they really fit into the squad. And that is where scouting or recruitment are a little bit different. And that also means that you're looking with your director of football, sporting director, okay, what do we need? And are you always looking for that profile, that is it right with the profile? And I think that what people do underestimate is that players can be perfect in terms of profile with data and playing on the field, actually. But I do think that sometimes you also have to look at the mentality of the club. What kind of club is it? What is the general culture of that club? Is it the hard-working club? Are the fans of a certain social element in society? I think that's very important. That is also part of recruitment analysis, which you can't quantify in data, obviously, but still is very important for attracting a player. So if a player works hard and come from the same background as a lot of the fans, that will mean that he or she will cope better at this club and be a better fit. And I think that in the end, that's very important to the performance of the team and the club as well, that the player fits in a variety of aspects and reasons. So I think that recruitment analysis is on the up. It's been done more and more, and scouts are being used in recruitment departments more and more, but also recruitment analysts. So those who coordinate the scouts, those who make sure the profile fits with what we're looking for. So that's another type of analysis that is prevalent and also will be used more. The last type of analysis I'm talking about today is opposition analysis. And I think this is a little bit of a different thing because it combines video analysis, data analysis, and a little bit of scouting as well. What you do is that you scout and analyze the opponent. So you look at their games of the season or the last few games. You recommend to your club how they play, what are their weaknesses, what are their strengths, what are the players you should be looking for to put more pressure on, or give the ball to, because if they are their weakness. And you will look at trends of that opponent. So you want to see how your playing style will benefit your opponent or will weaken your opponent, and you can support that. Everything you support your recommendations about how to play, or which players you play, and how to combat them by using video or data or both, and giving your team an opportunity to maximize the weaknesses. And you give an extra addition to the match analysis, the preparation of match analysis, by scouting the opponent and making sure you know their weaknesses and your team knows their weaknesses. And I think that it's very important. An opposition analyst should be a thing in nearly every team, I think. It's been done about head analysts a lot, about and assistant coaches as well. But it's a very typical part of analysis, and I think should have as much attention as the other analysis or type of analysis I've used in the video so far. So yeah, that was the last type of analysis I wanted to talk about, and I will talk about all these analysis and how you can do it in the next video. So in this video, I've looked at a few things. I've looked at how you can, you need to be prepared of context. You need to prove everything you claim. And I've looked at what are the types of analysis I will be going into in this video series. I can appreciate that this video was a little bit, okay, me talking, giving a lecture kind of style, but also in the next few videos I will use data and video and visualizations to illustrate what I want to say and give examples of how you can analyze and how you can scout. But for now, I wanted to give an introduction of what the course will be. I said course because initially I wanted to design a course, and then each video will discuss something different. So the next video, so part 2, will be about formations and rules and how players act on the pitch, and which formations they use and what the rules are and what the position of the players are. So that will be the next video. For now, I'm happy to have done this, and I hope you understood everything I said. Thank you for watching if you made it so far, and yeah, I hope you have a nice day. And you know what? Football is great.